Hey guys, Miss Warren here. Today I'm going to talk to y'all about human proportions. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of setup with my paper. I have a large 12 by 18 inch paper. I'm going to fold it in half so I have multiple pages to kind of practice on. Move this out of the way. Okay. Now I'm going to mark some guidelines so I can kind of keep my proportions on track. This is good for beginner artists. Normally, once you practice a little bit, you won't need guidelines anymore. But I'm going to mark a little hash mark at each inch line on this paper, which means I'll have about 12. I'm going to do these kind of lightly because I don't want them to be distracting from my artwork, but it will kind of help me keep and see if my proportions are on track. I'm going to lightly do it all the way across the page. Make sure that your ruler is nice and flat. And it doesn't matter if these are absolutely perfect. This is more just a general guideline to kind of just keep you checking that your figure is large enough and is correctly proportioned. Now we're not going to use all of these sections because the average, I'm going to make the head of my person about 1 inch tall. And the average person, adult person anyway, is about 7 heads tall. If you're really exceptionally tall in proportion to your head, then you might be up to 10 heads tall. If you're a kid and you're still growing, you might be more like 5 or 6 heads tall. Here, I got this one really slanted, so I'm going to fix that real quick. I just drew these lines super light. Okay, now I'm going to get a little reference sheet that I have here about the human body proportions. Okay, I have two kind of for examples. Here's very general average proportions. Not everyone is shaped like this, but this is a good rule of thumb. The average adult male is about 7.5 heads high, and because his head is larger, he's going to be taller. The adult female is about 7.5 heads high, but her head is smaller, so she's going to be a little bit more petite. An adolescent, I'd probably say this person, it says 12 years old here, but I'd probably say about 10 or 11, is about 6.5 heads high. If you're a kid, about 6, and a baby is about 4 to 5 heads high. If you think about a toddler waddling around, their head is much larger in proportion to their body than an adult is. So there we have some basic proportions. Now, I like this one here because it gives us kind of like a cartoon skeletal look, and it kind of tells us where like the shoulders, belly button and elbows, wrist, fingertips, and ankles will fall. Knees, where halfway up the body is, that the body is 2 heads wide, and kind of it lays out that your trapezius muscles are going to be more triangular, and that your head is, this is 1 head high. It kind of lays out the proportions. I'm going to be drawing something more like this. So I probably don't need to, I'm going to keep it off, just off screen for reference here. I probably won't need to use the top section or the bottom section. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to make my head about 1 inch high. And when I draw a head from formula and not from observation, I normally start with a circle that will fill close to half of this area. And then I add the jaw. Now, if you want to make it look more masculine, make it more square. If you want it to make it more feminine, make it more rounded. Now, I want to make sure the shoulders will fall kind of in the middle of this section if I'm looking at my reference correctly. And the shoulders are about 2 heads wide. If you were a really big, strong, muscly guy, they would probably be 3 heads wide. And if you were really, really skinny, it might be 1.5 heads wide, but the average is about 2 heads wide. So I'm going to look. It's going to be about 1, 2. So that's about how wide I want my shoulders. So I'm going to put a little mark here and a little mark here. So the neck kind of goes straight down. Then you have the trapezius muscles here that slope. Then you have your deltoids that round. Now I made that a little bit muscular. If you want to smooth it out and make it more feminine, you can just kind of round out the edges of the shoulders. Now, a lot of people use circles to mark where joints are. So a lot of people will draw a circle about where the shoulders will fall. And that kind of helps you show like where you would bend. Then a lot of people will draw a line for the top part of the arm. The top part of the arm goes at least a little bit past this second headline here. Now, and at this point, if you wanted to make the arm go out, you would draw the line outwards. And then here is where your elbow would be. You can draw another little circle there to kind of mark where you would bend from. And you can change direction with the line here. Now, it's going to look longer if the arm is straight. It's going to end a little higher if it's bent because this takes up some room. Now, a lot of people will draw like where the rib cage is or where the chest is. You can do that with a circle. I like to think about the rib cage shape. It's kind of rounded at the top so you can have room for your lungs, and then it kind of scoops here. Your waist will get smaller here because there's no bones to make it stick out. Your belly button will be about even with your elbows, maybe a little lower. If your elbow, if your arm is straight, you see the arm is bent, so the elbow's a little higher on this arm. Okay. Some people like to draw a circle where the stomach is because that can show you that you can kind of bend around that area. Some people just draw a line to show the posture of the back, like where the spine would be. This person's standing pretty straight, so it would be straight up and down line. And then some people draw like an oval here to show where the hip bone would be, and an oval here to see where the other hip bone would be. Some people kind of connect it and make like the shape of a swimsuit bottom, because that's where your pelvis or your hip bones are at. Okay, so your wrist falls about even with the bottom of your pelvis here. This is where your wrist is on your arm. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of start filling out the arm a little bit. You have your deltoids. You have your pectorals come in like this. The muscles, I'm putting the muscles on top of the bone. You have your bicep. And then it kind of goes out where your forearm starts and then scoops back in. So go out and then scoop back in. Same thing over here. You have your deltoid kind of sticks out here. You have your bicep. Then it kind of scoops. Makes like a little bit of overlap if your arm is bent. Then it kind of scoops out, then back in. Out, then back in. Okay, so there we have kind of the upper body going. We're about halfway done through the body because your body is about halfway between like the legs, the halfway point of the legs here. Okay, so your thighs, I'm going to draw a straight line to kind of show the positioning of the thighs. They overlap into this square a little bit, and they take up all this one, and then they start to go into the next one. So your thighs are about a little over 2 heads long. Then your knees will be about here. Now I'm going to start to kind of flesh out the thighs, like show where the muscles would be. Kind of go out and then back in, out and then back in. Okay, then I'm going to draw a straight line for the shin, and it's going to go and be almost 2 heads long, just like the thighs. And your ankles will be about here, and your feet will go like half a head more. Okay, now I'm gonna, the calf muscles below the knee go out and then come back in, go out, then come back in. And make this a little more smooth there. Round that outward to make it look more muscular. Let's put a little shadow there. Okay, so now where the ankles are, I'm going to do 1 foot facing towards you. Now, when I do a foot facing towards you, I do like an open triangle. And then the toes are going to kind of come below that line just a little bit. You might be able to see a little bit of the heel sticking out right here. And then there's your big toe on the inside. Then your little toes. I just do like little C shapes. And your foot looks shorter when it's pointed towards you. That's called foreshortening. Whenever something's pointing directly at you, it looks a little bit shorter. And then if you wanted to do, here, let me turn the leg a little bit. Put the knee more towards the front and the calf muscle more this way. Let's make this a little bit more flat. So then you can see the foot from the side. It's kind of like a triangle with a rounded end. I'm going to scoop out where the heel is, scoop back in where the foot is, and then the toes added there. And your little toe is going to be shorter than your other toes. Okay. Now I'm going to get to the hands as well. So the hands are pretty hard, but normally to start a basic hand shape, if it's your thumb will be facing the inside. So I always think about your thumb muscle at the base of your hand here. Actually, let me bump that up. So you have your hand and it goes out from your wrist. Kind of yet again like an open triangle. Now in this part, your thumb will fit. Has a muscle, and then it has a joint, just kind of like the rest of it. And I like to draw the back of it flat and the inside of it scooped. Now then your fingers start. So I'm going to go out this way because a lot of times they tend to slant this way, and then they're going to slant back in. If your fingers are relaxed, they tend to curve. There might be one more curve in them. So then I'm going to do the back of the hand. So there's the back of the finger, there's the back of this knuckle, and there's the back of that knuckle. Then I'm going to draw the kind of front, goes, and then it curves along each angle that you drew. And then I'm going to draw the other fingers peeking out from behind it. Same thing over here. I'm going to go out with where the thumb is at. I'm going to come back in because there's a joint here. I'm going to do flat on the back and curved on the front. There's my thumb. Then the back of the hand goes out, then in, then curved. And this finger will overlap the other ones because it's closest to you. Just following those angles, and I'm going to add the little pinky kind of peeking out from behind here. Just a reminder, we've done facial proportions in this class before, but I would add like the hair shape to this figure, the ears, the eyes. I'm going to do a line down the middle. I'm going to give him a stronger jaw. There we go. And this is a basic person. Now, if you wanted to add clothes to it, at this point, I would like add clothes, make a scoop around the neck for a shirt. And clothes are going to be a little bit bigger than the body. Scoop around where it opens up here, kind of show it going behind. Going to make the shirt a little bit loose, go just past the hips. Scoop around the arm here. I think I'm going to give him some shorts. A little bit bigger, yet again, than the body shape. We can erase all the stuff on the inside here. If you want to put shoes on them, kind of a rounded shape for the front of the shoe. The laces go up this triangular part that I drew, the tongue of the shoe, and then the back of the shoe. Shoe kind of scoops around here. You have the tongue of the shoe. The laces. If you want to put some wrinkles on the clothes to make it more realistic. So there's some basic human proportions. I'm going to go ahead and do a separate video for what would make female body proportions different. I look forward to seeing your work, and I'll catch y'all next time.